Alright guys, I am back again with another deck profile for Cardfight Vanguard Dear Days on Nintendo Switch. This time we got version 1 of my Lyrical Monasterio Kyouka deck. So of course version 1, everything's in the first additional card pass, so through the Lyrical Booster 3. And this deck focuses on filling up your board with 2 units each of every grade, 1 through 3. And then playing your special magazine normal order in order to gain various effects. So as always, we'll be going through the deck real fast, and then we'll show it off in one card fight. So starting first with our ride deck, we have our grade 0 starter, which is First Step Kyouka. So when it's rode upon, if you win second, draw a card. Same starter skill as always. Next, for the grade 1, we have Ready to Go Kyouka. So she has an auto ability that says when this unit is rode upon by a grade 2 with Kyouka in its card name, you choose a grade from 1 to 3, declare it, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 unit card with the declared grade, or a magazine card from among them, reveal it, put into your hand, and shuffle your deck. So this ability is very similar to the activate ability of the grade 3 Kyouka. It lets you either get a unit of any specific grade that you choose into your hand, or a magazine card into your hand, which you do have to declare the grade before you look at the top 5, so there is a chance this ability could whiff if you don't find any magazines or any units of the grade that you declared. However, this ability is cost-free, so if it does whiff, you don't lose out on anything, and it is potentially a free +1 to your hand. So overall, still a pretty useful ability. So then next for the grade 2, we have Hot Stuff Kyouka, with her very suggestive artwork. But anyway, she has her auto ability that says when this unit is rode upon by a grade 3 with Kyouka in its card name, you choose up to 1 magazine card from your drop and put it into your hand, and if you did not put it into your hand, you can counterblast 1 to search your deck for up to 1 magazine card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. So one way or another, this skill does get you a magazine into your hand. If you saw one early and you discarded it for your ride, or potentially even played it on turn 2, you can cycle that copy from your drop right back into your hand for free. Or if you haven't seen any copies of your magazine at that point, then you can counterblast in order to search one out of your deck and get into your hand instead. So it may or may not be cost-free, depending on the situation, but either way, it is a guaranteed +1 to your hand, and a guaranteed magazine to use on turn 3. Which it is very important to be able to play that magazine every turn. So a very helpful skill for this deck. So then lastly for the grade 3, we have Make a Trend Kyouka. So she has our activate ability that says once per turn you can Soul Blast 1 to choose a grade from 1 to 3, declare it, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 unit card with the declared grade from among them and call it to rearguard circle, or choose up to 1 magazine card from among them and reveal it and put it into your hand and shuffle your deck. So again, a very similar skill to the grade 1 Kyouka, letting you check the top 5 for either a magazine or any unit of the declared grade, although she calls it directly to rearguard instead of putting it into your hand. Also, this skill does have a Soul Blast cost, so if it does whiff and you don't find one of the declared grade or a magazine, you do end up using up a resource for nothing in that situation. But the magazine order in this deck does want you to have 2 grade 1s, 2 grade 2s, and 2 grade 3s on your board. So if you're missing any units, you can just declare the grade of the one that you're missing and hope that you find it in the top 5. Or hope you find that magazine if you need one of those to play that turn as well. So, bit of a risky ability, but it can be very helpful in helping you get the combo pieces that you need. And then she also has her continuous ability, that says during your turn, if you played a magazine order this turn, all of your front row units get power plus 5,000. So pretty good power up ability, giving 5k to your entire front row, which we do have a rear guard that can restand itself in this deck, so that will power up both of her attacks. And this ability should always be online because you do want to be playing that magazine order every turn, since if you don't, your deck pretty much bricks. So yeah, overall pretty simple Vanguard for the deck, but still can be pretty effective. So that is our ride deck. Moving on to the main deck. First off, for the grade 3s, we do have our 3 additional copies of Mega Trend Kyouka for our Persona ride purposes. And of course we are running the LSR alternate art with her in her bikini. So next for the grade 3s, we have 2 copies of Early Adopter Lavisa. So she has an activate skill that lets you retire this unit to choose a Lyrical Shooting Stars from your drop and put it into your hand. So this is a pretty simple ability. Lyrical Shooting Stars is the magazine order for this deck. So by retiring her, you can get a copy of your magazine back into your hand. So if you don't have one to play that turn, you can just call her and immediately retire her in order to fetch it from your drop. Alternatively, if you already have one in your hand, what you can do is you can call her onto your board and then play your magazine. And with Lavisa and Kyouka on your board, that'll be your 2 grade 3s to get that portion of the magazine's ability. And then after you use the magazine, you can just go ahead and retire her from your back row, since she won't be of any use back there anyway, and go ahead and put your magazine right back into your hand to use next turn. So she's just a useful card in helping you extend the number of times you can potentially play your magazines. So then lastly for the grade 3s, we do have 2 copies of The Rain is Like a Maiden's Heart, Risley. So she has her continuous ability that says if you played a normal order this turn, this unit gets boost. So yeah, she's just a 13k booster for your board, which again, you want to have 2 grade 2s out, which are usually in your front row, and then you want 2 grade 3s. So she is a way that you can get a grade 3 onto your back row and have it not just be totally useless. So she can just sit there and be a booster for any of your other units. And again, you should be playing that normal order every turn with your magazine, so she should always be online. So that is all the grade 3s. Moving on to the grade 2s. First off, we have 4 copies of Blue Frontier Arky. I think is how you say that. I think it's from Greek mythology. But anyway, that's what I'm going with. So anyway, she has her continuous ability that says during your turn, if you played a magazine order this turn, this unit gets power plus 5,000. So again, that should always be active. Put her to a 15k base, 20k with grade 3 Kyouka's skill. So then she also has her auto ability that says once per turn, at the end of the battle, your grade 3 or greater Vanguard attacked. If you played a magazine order this turn, you can counterblast 1 and soul blast 1 and stand this unit. So this is the card I mentioned earlier that can restand itself, giving you a 4th attack every turn. Potentially a 5th attack as well, if you can manage to get 2 copies of her into your front row and have enough resources to actually pay her cost both times, which is honestly the bigger problem in this deck, especially paying the Soul Blast cost. That's more difficult than the Counterblast thanks to part of the magazine orders skill. But if you can keep your soul count up enough, it can potentially give you 5 attacks per turn. But it can pretty consistently give you 4 regardless. The magazine order can also give 10k to one of your units, so if you stack that onto her, between that power up plus the power up from her own continuous ability, plus the power up from Kyouka's continuous ability, plus anything else like triggers or Persona Ride or what have you, she should be hitting pretty good numbers for both of her attacks. So overall, definitely the very most important card for this deck's offense. So next we have 2 copies of Well-Informed Fedelm. So she has an activate ability that says once per turn, if you played a magazine order this turn, you can counterblast one, and this unit gets power plus 10,000 until end of turn. So just a simple power-up skill does make her a 20k beater on your board, 25k with Kyouka's ability again. She's just a good offensive card. If you go ahead and play your magazine on turn 2, she can potentially be a good card to rush with as well. She's not super vital for the deck. If you want to replace her with something else, you can. But I do like having her for that little bit of extra offense. Plus, I do like her artwork pretty good as well. So then lastly, for the grade 2s, we have 2 copies of Hoppensteller Melty. So she has her friend ability, which is completely irrelevant in this deck. And then she has her auto ability, which is what we're actually playing her for, which says when this unit is placed on rearguard circle during your main phase, you can counterblast one to choose up to 1 card with grade equal to or less than your Vanguard from your hand and call it to rearguard circle. And if you called a card, draw a card. So she's a counterblast one for a call 1 and draw 1. So another +1 ability for this deck, which can be pretty important, since this deck doesn't plus as much as you would hope it would. So if you want to run more copies of her in order to try to have more chance to increase your card advantage, you could drop Fedelm for some extra copies of her if you want to. They both have the same cost, and of course Melty yields you card advantage while Fedelm doesn't. So it's kind of player preference, but yeah, I'm just keeping them both at 2 ofs for right now. So that's all the grade 2s. Moving on to the grade 1s. First off, we have 4 copies of Best Choice Laudomia. So she has an activate ability that says if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Kyouka in its card name, you can put this unit into your soul to choose a grade 2 or greater unit card from your drop with a different card name as your Vanguard and put it on the top of your deck. So the point of this ability is to set up for grade 3 Kyouka's activate ability, letting you put any grade 2 or 3 from your drop onto the top of the deck. So then when you use Kyouka's ability, you just declare the grade of the one you put, and you will be guaranteed to find it in the top 5 and superior call it to rearguard circle. So it helps you recycle any grade 2 or higher you want out of your drop. It does turn Kyouka's ability from a +1 into a ±0, since this is a -1 because you are shoving her into your soul. However, you do get that extra resource out of it, which again, Kyouka's ability costs a Soul Blast, so she also satisfies Kyouka's cost by doing that as well. So if you have an extra grade 1 in your hand to replace her after you put her into your soul, and you need to fetch that grade 2 or higher from your drop if your opponent retired it during their turn, or you had to intercept with it, or what have you, she can be a very helpful card in, again, getting all your combo pieces where you need them to be. So next we have 3 copies of Mystica Pellucid Jennifer. So her activate ability says once per turn, if you have 4 or more units, you can discard a card from hand to choose a normal order from your drop, and it gains a continuous ability until end of turn that says this card can be played from the drop, and when it would be put into your drop after play, put it on the bottom of your deck instead. So this is another ability that helps you recycle your magazine orders from your drop, letting you play it directly from the drop and send it to the bottom of the deck instead. So again, getting that magazine order played every turn is very vital in order for the deck to function at all, since so many of your abilities are locked behind playing a magazine that turn. So having another option to be able to do so is always very helpful. So next for the grade 1s, we have our Sentinels. So first off, we have our 3 copies of Determined Cheerfulness Sarka. So just your standard perfect guard. Additionally, we have our 1 copy of the Nationless Blitz Order Elementaria Sanctitude. which you can play without paying the cost if your opponent's Vanguard has triple drive. So then lastly for the grade 1s, we do have 4 copies of our magazine normal order. Lyrical Shooting Stars. So there's no cost to play it, but you can play it if you have a Vanguard with Kyouka and its card name, which obviously you always will. And it lets you perform all of the following according to the number of your units. If you have 2 or more grade 1 units, you can draw 2 cards and choose a card from your hand and discard it. If you have 2 or more grade 2 units, then you choose one of your units and it gets power plus 10,000 until end of turn. And if you have 2 or more grade 3 units, then you can countercharge 1. So this is the magazine of the deck. It's the only magazine we have in the deck, so obviously this is very vital for the deck to function. You do definitely want to run this at 4 of. You do get different abilities based on what's out on your board, so even if you can't get your entire board set up, you still can potentially get part of this skill regardless. If you have the 2 grade 1s, you get to draw 2 and drop 1, so it's basically a hand filter since it's a ±0 when you factor in the inherent -1 of playing in order. But it can help you potentially get some cards into your hand that you need. If you have your 2 grade 2 units, you can power up one of your units, which again, most of the time you want to stack that power onto Arky, since she's going to be restanding herself. That'll power up 2 of your attacks that turn instead of just 1. And then of course if you get your 2 grade 3s out, you get to countercharge as well, which we do have quite a bit of counterblast costs in this deck, so that extra resource extension can be very helpful. So that is all the grade 1s. Moving on to the grade 0s, we do just have our trigger lineup, which is 7 crits, 4 draws, 4 heals, and 1 over. So first off for the crit triggers, we do have 4 copies of Precious Tune Edwidge. So crit with a skill, at the end of the battle it boosted, you can put into your soul to choose one of your units, and it gets power plus 2,000 until end of turn. So it's an option to get more soul if you need it for Arky's skill or what have you. She has a grade 0 on your board, so she won't help for your magazine. But if you use La Visa skill and clear her off, then you will have an open rearguard circle to put Edwidge in potentially as well. So then additionally we have 3 copies of Grinning Dragon Scale Ilze. So just your vanilla crit, which this is the Lyrical Booster 3 print that actually has her name spelled correctly, unlike the original print that spelled it with a S instead of a Z. So next for the draws, we have 4 copies of Transparent Snowy Night Baratois. So draw with a skill. If your opponent's Vanguard's grade 3 or greater, gets shield plus 5,000. So your 10k shield draw trigger. So next for the heals, we have 4 copies of Sigh of Relief Fabiola. So just a vanilla heal, as always. If you want to run any of the effect heals, you can feel free to do so. And then lastly for our overtrigger, we have our 1 copy of Demonic Fever Garviera. So her additional effect says during this fight, you get, during your turn, all of your rearguards get power plus 10,000. So grants a skill to the fighter, powering up all of your rearguards, which is very useful in a deck like this where you're restanding a rearguard and overall just your rearguards do a lot of the heavy lifting for the deck. So powering them up for the whole fight is always helpful. So that is the deck. So we will go ahead and have our 1 fight with it. And I think we'll face Shinobu this time. And we will be going second. Alright, so I'm going to discard Fedalum, I guess, to ride. And our starter skill, let us draw. So then I'll go ahead and call Laudomia over here. And then we can attack with the Vanguard first. And he gets a crit trigger, so our rear guard won't be able to hit anything, unfortunately. So we'll have to just end our turn. And we'll let that one through. And he gets a heal trigger, which he does get. So now we'll go ahead and discard one of these Jennifers to ride. And grade 1 Kyouka will let us declare a grade, which I think I'm going to declare grade 3. So we'll check the top 5, and I did find a Persona Ride copy. So that will go into our hand. So now I'm going to move Laudomia back and call Melty. And use her skill to counterblast. And then we superior call one from our hand, so we'll go ahead and call Arky over here. And we'll get to draw. So then we'll call Jennifer behind her. And now we got 2 grade 2s and 2 grade 1s out, so I think we're set up to go ahead and play Lyrical Shooting Stars from our hand. So we get to draw 2, and we have to discard 1, so I'll drop one of these magazines, actually. And then we can give one of our units plus 10k. So I'm going to give that to Melty, actually. And we don't have any grade 3s out, so we won't be able to get a counter charge. But we can go ahead and attack with the Vanguard first. And we get a crit trigger, nice. So crit to the Vanguard and power to Arky. And he gets another heal trigger, which he also gets. So then we'll attack with Melty. And he guards. And then we can attack with Arky. And I think I'll go ahead and guard that one. And we'll let that one through. And he gets a crit trigger. So that's not good because he's going to be able to restand his Vanguard with that extra crit. But we get a crit as well. And now we'll get an extra drive check on that. So as much as I hate to use it this soon, I'm going to have to go ahead and perfect guard this. So we'll discard that crit. Alright, so I'm gonna have to discard Arky, even though I don't really want to. To ride. And then our grade 2 Kyouka will let us add one of our Lyrical Shooting Stars from our drop back to our hand. So I'm going to go ahead and use Kyouka's Activate ability to Soul Blast one. And I'm going to declare grade 3 again. And we will check the top 5, and the only grade 3 we found was another Persona ride, which I don't want to call. So instead I'm going to add the magazine copy we found to our hand. So then we can go ahead and play one of our Lyrical Shooting Stars. So we get to draw 2 and discard 1. So I guess we'll have to drop that magazine. And now we'll give our 10k power to Arky. And again, unfortunately, we do not get the counter charge. But now we can go ahead and attack with Arky first, not boosted. And he gets yet another heal trigger, but he doesn't get this one. So then we can attack with the Vanguard, who does need a trigger to even hit. But we did get a heal trigger, which we do get as well, so we heal 1. And we will give that power to Kyouka, so that attack goes through. And he gets a crit trigger this time. But now we can activate Arky's skill to Counter Blast and Soul Blast. So Arky gets to restand. And Melty will not be able to hit his Vanguard, so I'm going to go ahead and pick off his rear guard here. And then Arky can still swing at his Vanguard. And he guards. And he did get his Persona ride. So we will have to put him to 7 damage in order to beat him now, thanks to Greedon's skill. And let's see, we will... I think we'll let that one through. And we get a draw trigger, nice. And I'll let that one through too. And we get a crit trigger, so give that to our Vanguard as well. So now Greedon re-stands and gains 15k. And Bubetsu lets him Superior Call one from his hand, so he will get another attack out of that. So I'm gonna go ahead and guard that one with my over trigger. And that one can't hit our Vanguard, so he's going to swing at Arky. So I think I'll go ahead and let that one through. Alright, so now we can Persona Ride. So let's see, I am going to go ahead and use Laudamia's ability to put her into the soul. And then we can put Arky back on the top of the deck. So we'll be guaranteed to get her back when we use Kyouka's ability to Soul Blast one. And we're going to declare grade 2 this time. So we actually found 2 Argies. So we'll call one of her to our front row. And then from our hand, we'll call another Laudamia to replace the one we use. And we will call Lavisa as well to our back row center. So then we can go ahead and play Lyrical Shooting Stars. And since we have 2 grade 1s, 2 grade 2s, and 2 grade 3s, we get to draw 2 and we can discard 1. So I'm just going to drop that heal trigger. And then we can give 10k to Arky. And we finally get our counter charge. So then I'm going to go ahead and use Lavisa's ability to retire her as well. And we can go ahead and snag our Lyrical Shooting Stars back from the drop. So then we are all set up, so we will go ahead and attack with Arky first, not boosted. And he gets a grip trigger, of course. So then we can attack with Kyouka. And he guards for 2 to pass. And we get a heal trigger, which we don't get. So let's see, I am not going to risk that. I am going to give that power to Melty. Oh, I should have risked it. We got another heal trigger, which we still don't get, unfortunately. So we will give that to Arky. So Arky skill lets us Counter Blast and Soul Blast to restand. So we will attack with Melty. And that puts him to 6, but we gotta get him to 7. So we'll attack with Arky for 58,000. But he perfect guards, which I figured was coming because I knew he had that perfect guard in his hand. And he couldn't get his 4 units onto the board, so he won't be able to restand Greed on this time. So let's see, we just need one to block that, but I think I'm actually going to let that one through. And we can just safely go ahead and perfect guard that one. So let's see, I am going to discard one of these heals. So then we'll just go ahead and guard that with this crit. Alright, so I'm pretty sure that we can finish him off this turn, so I am actually going to declare final turn. And then we'll Persona Ride. So let's see, I am going to go ahead and use Laodomia's ability, putting her into Soul. And we can put one from our drop to the top of the deck. So I think I am actually going to put Fedelm, just because I want to use her ability. So we'll use Kyouka's skill to Soul Blast one. And I will declare grade 2. And we found a bunch of grade 2s, but we're going to call out Fedelm. And I'm actually going to Superior Call her over Melty. And then we'll call out Domia behind her. And then we can go ahead and play our magazine order, Lyrical Shooting Stars. So we get to draw 2 and drop 1. So we'll drop that draw and give 10k to Arky. So now we'll use Fedelm's skill to Counter Blast. And she'll gain an extra 10k. So we are good to go. So we will go ahead and attack with Arky first, not boosted. And he perfect guards. So then we can attack with Kyouka. And he perfect guards again. So now Arky skill will let us Counter Blast and Soul Blast to restand once more. So he's only got one card left in his hand, and we got 2 attacks. So we're going to attack with Fed Elm, boosted by Laudomia, for 43,000. And he's got to let it through. And we got him with that one. So there you go, that was my Kyouka deck. So I will be back soon with more deck profiles. I believe next up I will be doing Petralka, which should be the last lyrical deck I'll be doing for a while anyway. But anyhow, I guess that's all for this video. So lots of luck to you and yours.